Oh, there you are, YouTube. Do subscribe if you're interested, but also no pressure. But if you did, I would greatly appreciate it. Hey, it is October 4th. We gotta go check what movie we're gonna watch. Let's go to the Halloween Advent calendar and find out. Come with me. Let's go.
Okay, October 4th. What is it? Ooh, Pet Sematary, the new one. All right.
So, Pet Sematary 2019. This movie, it is interesting. So I've never read Pet Sematary, but the movie, the original one, was one of the most traumatic movies of my childhood. Watching that, watched it way too young, and I actually didn't quite get to the end of it. I came very close, but didn't come to complete the movie because my dad, he saw that I was getting scared, and then he was like, you know what? Let's get to bed. And it's like, I'm watching this scary movie. Going to bed is the last thing I want to do. But I think, I don't know. He could tell I was scared. And you know what scared me? Like, the movie itself is scary, but Zelda is what scared me so much. Scared me so much that I actually, from that moment, watching it when I was a little kid with my dad, I like blacked her out. I blacked her out. She disappeared from my memory. But I always remembered other scenes from Pet Sematary. And I even remember asking my dad the next day what happened at the end of the movie. And he told me what happened. And I remember what he said and everything. And then but everything Zelda like blacked out until I was in graduate school. So I was like in my, what is that, like mid-20s, right? And I had my buddies over and we're all like, let's watch some scary movies. And one of them was Pet Sematary. Is that how it happened? No, that's when I did rewatch it. I can't remember if, okay, so the one of two things. Either that is when Zelda was mentioned like before we watched it, and then like all these memories like unlocked, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I could remember what she looked like. I could remember her spine, the feeding, all of that just like came back, and it was blacked out of my brain for years. So it was either then, the day we did watch it, or I think it might have also just been a pure hangout with me and the buddies just talking about the movie, and then we eventually watched it later. I can't remember, but either way, I was with the same group of people, and I was still in graduate school when it happened, and then like all those memories came back. So I don't know. You could say that's the most traumatic like movie I've ever seen. Is that traumatic the right word? Frightening, to where I actually blacked part of the film out, blacked it out for years, right? Like nearly 20 years. Forgot about Zelda. Anyway, so this new one, so that was the scariest part there, right? So this new one, I actually think Zelda in it is scary, but not like the original movie was to me. Like, I actually thought Zelda was one of the parts that of this movie that didn't bother me so much. And I think maybe because we didn't see the feeding. If we saw the feeding, like that part was pretty grotesque in the old one. If that would have happened in this one, probably would have been worse. But you know, the spine and everything and all the twisted bones and everything, all that was pretty freaky. But what really was the most unsettling for me in this movie, spoilers are about to hit your screen, was, so in the original one, Gage dies, right, from the semi. And I don't know what it's like in the book, but in this one, they make you think that. And then the dad, he's running, and then he swipes Gage, I almost call him Cage, out of the way, and you're like, huh? So I guess maybe they're gonna kill him off later, like this was just like a close call, but then he will get run over by the semi. No, they flipped it on us. They did this a couple times with things, and instead of Gage, the thing keeps going, and the daughter Ellie is in the middle of the road because she's seeing their cat Church, and she's like picking Church up and being like, "Oh, Winston Churchill, you're back home. You're back home. Daddy tried to get rid of you, and you're back home. I thought you ran off." And then she gets hit and dies, and they flipped it anyway. And I think that's where things get scary with this movie, because Gage is just like a little Chucky doll, right? Slashing Achilles tendons and for biting necks and things like that, right? Well, here it's it's the girl who can talk, right? She's older, so she's like full of questions and things. So like when she comes back, she has all these questions for her dad, and like, what am I? Am I, am I dead? What is this? Why did you do this? Like all of these questions, right, are like surfacing, where you don't get that from that little toddler, because he can't talk or anything. So this was, I don't know. It was just like, it made it freakier because you have all these young child questions trying to make sense of the world, and or of their new world, and you have to, the dad has to sit there and answer them, or try to find a way to answer them, or push them to the side. And it was just like, I don't know, all that was just very unsettling for me. And that's where this movie like really got me, just all of that stuff, the swapping, not the little toddler, but the older kid here, and just all those questions bubbling up, were, it was just, that was the tough part. I don't know, that's where I felt uncomfortable this time. It wasn't through Zelda. But speaking of the toddler, though, slashing Achilles tendons in the original film. It's funny because this movie does do like a little callback to that, because John Lithgow, he's playing Herman Munster in this one, right? And um, he does a wonderful job. He's fantastic in this. He does great. And there's a scene when he's looking for the girl, when she's come back. He's like in the different rooms searching for her, and then he goes near a bed, and he's walking past it, and then the camera does a close up on his Achilles, right? And you're like, oh, here it comes, here it comes. And then instead, we don't see a slice happen. He kicks the bed forward and reveals there's nothing under the bed. And I just thought that was great, because it was like, I don't know, do I think that was great? I think if you're watching it, I'm trying to think, if you're watching it and had not seen the original, I don't know how much attention that would bring to itself. But here, because I've seen the original maybe in all 3 or 4 times, I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen here, and then they don't do it. It takes you out of the movie a little bit, but it's kind of fun at the same time. And this movie's pretty serious too, so it was kind of nice to have that lightheartedness. That's not the right word, but just kind of like, I don't know, sigh of relief or something, that little punctuation of oh, I don't know, you can just take a breath, right? Because it's like, what I expected to happen didn't happen, and they kind of addressed it in a funny way. But then he goes down the stairs, because he's not seeing the daughter in that room, and then she's like, stabs him with like an ice pick or something, right, or like that. I think it was an ice pick, right in the Achilles, and it's like, oh, here it is, here it is. They thought they made me think it wasn't going to happen, and then it happened, and I thought that was presented really well. I thought that was great. So yeah, there were all sorts of like callbacks like that to the original. I don't know, like, or like things where they're like, let's make you think this is going to happen because you saw it in the original film, but we're gonna change things up. So maybe there weren't a lot of them, but like a handful of them that happened, and I thought they were really good. So those changes I thought were cool, because otherwise it's very much like the other movie, but maybe a little CGI scenes when they're like in the woods, looking for the pet cemetery, or on their way to the pet cemetery. But yeah, I don't know. It's very similar to the other one. Oh, actually, the ending's different. I thought this ending was better than the original one. I liked how far it took us, and where it was going. I thought all of that was great. That That was better than the other one because the other one felt a little unfinished, right? In a way, it kind of like had like a jump scare sort of thing, and then it just ended. But this one is not. It doesn't have that jump scare to it. It has this. I know where this is going, but also it's kind of funny in a weird way. Also, you get other Stephen King story references, like you see the town of Derry, as we know from It. There was a part where there was a map, and I was waiting. I was looking at this map of Maine that they had on the screen, and I was like trying to quickly look for like Castle Rock. I didn't see it on there, but it might have been on there. But yeah, this I thought this was good. Like this was a good remake. Is it better than the other one? I think some parts are, but the other one also is what it is, and like it has legendary status. It has all of that, so it's like unbeatable because it's a classic sort of thing. So even if they did make, which they I think they did, a really good like remake, it was good. It was like just as good, but it doesn't have like the charm of an older film, right? And it doesn't have the years of being a classic, that sort of thing. It's just, when you already have all of those things in another movie, how can you be as good, even though if you're competently made and very well made, well acted, and do some cool things to flip the original script, it can't really live up to the original because the original is the original. But this one is very good, competent, and if it's your first time watching any Pet Cemetery, I think you would find it to be a good movie. You don't have to watch the original one, but I think if you have watched the original one, if you saw it as a kid, have any bit of nostalgia for it, even if it's a fearful nostalgia, a nostalgia of fear, I think you'll still always like the original better, even though this one's great. So yeah, I thought it was really good. I'm curious, what did you think of it? This one got past me. I did want to watch it when it came out, even though I thought it was a stupid idea to make it at first. But now that I've watched it, it's like we'll always have the original, and this one is good. So if anything, people watched this, liked it, and then if they hadn't seen the original, they went back to it. And I think that's always a good thing for people to go back and watch the originals of or classics maybe that they've missed before, and hopefully this remake did that. But anyway, again, I'd love to know what you thought of Pet Sematary 2019. I'm looking forward to the television show. Maybe it's already come out. I'm not sure when it finally drops, but it's going to be hard for us to watch, but we may watch it in November. David Duchovny is in it, and my wife, is in love with David Duchovny, his number one fan. So we will be watching that because we like horror and we like David Duchovny. So that's all going to work out pretty well. It just we might watch a little bit later. But one more time, what did you think of this movie? I'd love to know if you loved it, hated it, neutral on it. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below, and perhaps I'll see you tomorrow for more Pure Hangout.